What's up, YouTube? How many of you have felt great after eating 10 gluten-free cookies? Anyone? You felt great after eating that much sugar? Is that just me? I'm joking. I've never felt that way. Maybe a better question is, how many of you have felt like you've eaten too much sugar? That's definitely me, and I'm guessing that some of you can relate to that. I am trying to be better and eat less sugar, but some days are better than others. Because I have celiac disease, all the time when people find out that I'm gluten-free, they tell me, oh, you must be really healthy because you have to eat gluten-free. And I'm like, yeah, for sure, except when someone makes me a gluten-free dessert and then I eat the entire thing by myself. That's definitely healthy. If you're like me, maybe sometimes you get stuck in this rut of thinking of, oh, there's a lot of food that I can't eat. And then you go to the grocery store and you see certified gluten-free Oreos and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't eat Oreos, but I can eat gluten-free Oreos. I haven't had these in 5 years. I gotta get them because they're gluten-free. And then you see Nicka brand gluten-free vanilla wafers and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta get those because they're gluten-free. And then you're getting all these sugar-filled gluten-free snacks. And many of these gluten-free products are certified gluten-free. And I super appreciate the organizations out there like Beyond Celiac and the Gluten-Free Certification Organization, or the GFCO, that certify these products so that we know that when the product is labeled gluten-free, that it is actually gluten-free and safe for us to consume. But that certification does not mean that those products are healthy. I don't think there's anyone that would say that gluten-free Oreos are a healthy snack. I'm not saying they're the worst thing in the world for you, but they're just not generally considered healthy. Even things like Walmart brand gluten-free chocolate sandwich cookies are certified gluten-free, which just goes to show that that certification does not mean that the product tastes good, because Walmart brand gluten-free chocolate sandwich cookies taste like soft garbage. Gluten-free products aren't really higher in sugar or carbs than their gluten-containing counterparts. I did say in a previous video that they were higher in sugar and carbs, and that was kind of a lie. I'm sorry. Fail, Jordan. But if you get into this mindset of, oh, that thing is gluten-free, therefore I need it, and then you're eating a bunch of gluten-free processed food, you're gonna be just consuming a lot of sugar. Period. So I'm not a medical expert, but I reached out to my cousin who's in med school and is therefore not a medical expert either because he's only a med school student. I previously asked him on the channel if it was okay to eat an entire pack of gluten-free Oreos in 2 days by yourself, which is something I did and I regret doing. And he said, it's good for the soul only, but not for the body. I just recently asked my med school cousin if I should be limiting my sugar intake or if it was okay for me to eat as much sugar as I wanted. He said simple carbohydrates such as fructose and sucrose, which are sugar, are very fattening when consumed in excess. If you manage to just avoid throwing up if you eat 15 plus pounds of sugar and you are interested in ending your life early, then yes, you technically could eat as much sugar as you'd like. Eating a lot of sugar increases your risk of heart disease, it increases your risk of type 2 diabetes, and eating a lot of sugar can cause your blood sugar to spike. And pro medical tip, saying that one thing causes something else to spike in your body, that's just not a good thing. We don't want things spiking. Also, regarding sugar, a lot of us on the gluten-free diet continue to have digestion issues, bloating, gas, abdominal pain, and there is literally no doctor anywhere that will tell you that eating sugar will help your intestines feel better. That's just no. As I said before, gluten-free foods aren't necessarily higher in carbs either when compared to their gluten-containing counterparts, but they are in general higher in refined carbs or refined grains, whereas the gluten-containing products generally contain more whole grains or unrefined carbs. And that's because there is no one-for-one substitute for gluten in food. Gluten provides structure and elasticity in food, and in order to replicate that structure and elasticity in gluten-free products, food manufacturers have to add different types of carbs and starches and sugars are just carbs. The problem with refined grains and refined carbs is that they contain less nutrient per carb than whole grains and unrefined carbs. So eating the same amount of carbs, you're actually just getting less nutrients. Now, in this video, I'm not advocating that you should be low carb. I'm not advocating that you should be high carb. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just letting you know that number one, sugar is not healthy for you, which is a pretty agreed upon fact. And number two, that refined carbs contain less nutrients than unrefined carbs. So if you are wanting to make a diet change or eat healthier, what are some things you can do? Well, where possible, you can try to switch out refined grains for whole grains. So things like white rice are considered refined grains, but quinoa and brown rice would be considered whole grains, so you can replace white rice with quinoa or brown rice. And if you have an Instant Pot, quinoa only takes 1 minute to cook, and brown rice, which would normally take 50 to 55 minutes to cook, only takes 22 minutes to cook in the Instant Pot. And of course, when we're talking about the Instant Pot, you never talk about how long it takes to heat up and pressurize, because that would make sense. You only talk about the actual cook time. So with the time it takes to heat up and pressurize, it actually takes longer than 1 minute to cook quinoa, but that's okay. We're gonna just say it takes 1 minute. At least you can just set it and forget it. You don't have to worry about it with the Instant Pot. That's the plus. Also, oats and corn are whole grain, but I know that there are a lot of people in the gluten-free community that can't tolerate oats or corn or both. There are other gluten-free whole grains out there that you can incorporate into your diet. If you want carbs to be part of your breakfast, you can eat oatmeal instead of cereal. In one of my previous videos, I talked about how I would eat cereal every day, and I don't do that anymore. I switch it up between eating eggs and shakes and oatmeal, just trying to get more whole carbs and other nutrient-rich foods into my diet instead of just eating refined carbs in the form of cereal every morning. Something that I have found to be helpful is you can have your friend or your partner or somebody hide candy or dessertness from you so that you can't find it, or at least in the case of me and my wife just hides her portion of the candy so that I don't eat both my portion and her portion. And even though it can be hard to believe, if you see gluten-free products in the store, you do not have to buy them. Yes, gluten-free Oreos taste really good. Yes, Trader Joe's can have a really awesome gluten-free selection, but you don't have to buy it. Seeing it does not equate to you having to buy it, and nobody is going to get offended that you didn't buy their gluten-free product. The food manufacturers do not care. What matters is you and how you feel. If you found this video helpful or enjoyable, I would super appreciate it that you would give that little like button a tappity tap tap. That way YouTube will show it to other people and they can benefit from it as well. If you're looking for other tips about living gluten-free, you'll want to check out my video on the 7 mistakes that I made living the gluten-free diet so that you don't have to make those same 7 mistakes. And I made a whole video about places where gluten can hide in your kitchen, which you can watch right here. Peace.